Hi, everybody. Just wanted to come to you today to give you my thoughts on this coronavirus and what's going on in our world today. I want to start out with introducing you to the cast of characters. As you can see here, these are the people that are involved in what's going on today. Okay? Uh, give you a little background. We're going to start with the the GMF. That's the German Marshall Fund of the United States. Uh, It's made to strengthen the transatlantic organization on regional, national, and global challenges. It was founded in '72 as a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization through a gift from Germany. Okay, that's one of the groups that is involved in this. And you can Google all of this to verify what I'm saying. The Children Investment Fund Foundation. They're involved in climate change, child labor and sexual exploitation, and talking about as many as 35 million people in the world who are trapped in slavery. That's what they're all about, okay? And they're involved in this pandemic that we're going through right now. Bill Gates has got a foundation called the Extinction Rebellion, and they address ecological and climate emergencies, but they're also involved in the current pandemic. And then there's my favorite, the Global Fund. Excuse me. The Global Fund is a partnership designed to accelerate the end of AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria as epidemics. As an international organization, the Global Fund mobilizes and invests more than $4 billion a year to support programs run by local experts in more than 100 countries. Those are the groups that, some of the groups that are involved in this. There's also the United Nations Development Program, the UNDA. This is a big one for me. Uh, these people have got us so buffaloed. The UNDP is a global development network. It advocates for change and connects countries to knowledge, experience, and resources to help people build a better life for themselves. That's what they're supposed to be about, okay? And this one, Bill Gates' little mad scientist, you guys got to look this one up too. It's the ID 2020. I don't know if you can see that or not. Identity data is outside of individual control. What they're all about is they want to set a course of digital ID through multi-stakeholders partnerships, ensuring digital ID is responsibly implemented and widely accessible. What they want to do and what they're talking about doing is implanting medical IDs in us. And what Bill Gates is really wants to do is he wants to use the coronavirus as a jumping point. These IDs that they've made are so small that they can inject them in your body. And what he wants to do is use the coronavirus and the if we come up with a vaccine, he wants to use that vaccine to implement putting all of these microchips into everybody throughout the world. I got to read you one more thing that he says here, which I thought was really, really interesting. He is a mad scientist. I can give you that much. Bear with me here. He says it's exciting to imagine a world where safe and secure digital identities are possible. Isn't that wonderful? He's just looking out for us. Oh. Anyways, Bill Gates wants to inject us with all of that stuff. Then we got somebody you see on TV every day now, if you watch the news, Anthony Fauci. All right? Yeah, he's that short little guy. Kind of interesting. He's been in the loop of AIDS and infectious diseases for years and years and years. And he made a comment. This is the Helio infectious disease news. You can Google this too. See that headline? No doubt Trump will face surprise infectious disease outbreak. And that was January of 2017. How did he know that? The guy's got to be psychic. Or psycho, I'm not sure which. But I find it really interesting that he knew that Trump was going to face this surprise infectious disease outbreak. And then we got our girl, the mother of the coronavirus, Deborah Birx. She was appointed by Barack Obama in 2014 to lead the government fight against AIDS. But what I found interesting in this article, which is from the New York Times, okay, is she used to, back in '83, she worked helping to fight AIDS. And the article goes on to say, in the spring of 1983, even before the virus that causes AIDS had a name, a young Army doctor named Deborah Birx suffered excess bleeding while giving birth. Excuse me. Moments before she passed out from pain, she screamed an order at her husband, "Do not let them give me blood." She may have saved her own life. Turn the page. The blood she would have received was later discovered to have been contaminated with HIV. Now, how would she know that? Unless she, like Dr. Fauci, was psychic. I mean, these people are just amazing to me. Where do we want to go here? Here's another one. Okay, another guy that's in the place here. I don't know if you can see that face or not. Okay, you know who that is? You probably don't. But he's the head of the World Health Organization. And he was complicit in the terrible suffering for cholera outbreaks in Africa. Health professional accused him of covering up the previous epidemic to shield two African regimes. This guy is a crook. I mean, he's just bad news. Moving right along, I want to talk to you about two of our United States of America foundations, PEPFAR and the Global Fund. PEPFAR is the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Research. And this is from this is on the internet from the Coney Dogs. Okay, it says, "Is AIDS a $90 billion slush fund?" You have to understand this is where Deborah Bricks comes from. This is potentially one of the biggest ongoing slush funds of our time, perpetrated by over 35 governments, philanthropists, and politicians. So-called elites, celebrities, and while they're preying on the weak, they're praying at the weak of heart to donate their hard-earned money to the Global Fund that helps children and adults beat AIDS. The Global Fund is an octopus with many arms, including the UNDP, which we talked about earlier, and funds that acting as an implementing partner in numerous countries. Once a few elites and governments orchestrated structure, everyone joined in. Scores of non-government organizations lined up, and celebrities quickly jumped on the board in their ambassador roles and organized their foundations, including Bono's Red and One campaigns, which beg and shame the public into purchasing their products because the funds allegedly help save lives. Unbelievable. And I've mentioned all of that to mention this. Here's a committee report from the 112th Congress, okay? This is on the internet. The United States Senate Committee on Foreign Relations, Washington, D.C., April 5th, 2011. We talk about PEPFAR. And the U.S. investment in these programs totaled more than $32 billion. All right? The UNDP internal policy does not allow outside entities of the Global Fund or World Bank to examine their books. You can't audit them. What a good sweet deal, man! You're getting all of this money, and you can't be audited. The Inspector General analyzed expenditures of some of their money because they only gave them a few things to look at, and they got to look at $3.5 million in disbursements and found that approximately $2.7 million had been misappropriated. The Inspector General was unable to examine the rest of the funding in question because of their immunity to being audited, which was, by the way, given to them by George Bush. Okay, this is interesting too. This is from the World Bank. I'm not sure if you're aware of what the World Bank is, but this is dated June of 2017. Okay. The World Bank, this marks the first time in history that the World Bank bonds are being sold to finance efforts against infectious diseases. They're going to provide more than $500 million to cover developing countries against the risk of pandemic outbreaks. They've never done this before. The World Bank is selling bonds now to cover a pandemic. That seems interesting in 2017. I want to talk about a thing that you can Google called Event 201. This was an experiment in October of 2019, just last year, where a group of 15 business people, government officials, and health experts gathered around a table in New York to plan out the global response to a worldwide outbreak of a never before seen and completely fictional coronavirus. A coronavirus, okay? The fictional coronavirus at the center of the event 201 simulation, which was collaborated with Johns Hopkins Center for Health and Safety, the World Economic Forum, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The virus was started with pigs in Brazil before spreading to farmers, not unlike how the 2019 coronavirus reportedly began with animals before spreading to people. It's amazing how you talk about getting lucky. You just kind of have a practice, and then all of a sudden, months later, it happens. Pandemic, can you read that? Pandemics simulation exercise spotlights massive preparedness gap. All right. This is from Johns Hopkins, interestingly enough. All right. And this is from November 2019. The center's latest pandemic simulation, Event 201, dropped participants right in the midst of an uncontrolled coronavirus outbreak that was spreading like wildfire. It wreaked havoc worldwide as a fictional newscaster from GNN narrated an immune-resistant virus was crippling trade and travel, sending the global company into freefall. The global economy into freefall. Social media was rampant with rumors and misinformation. Governments were collapsing and citizens were revolting. This is in October of last year. And if you go there, they've got video showing the highlights. Event 201, hosted by a collaboration of the World Economic Forum and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The experts added a layer of realism by reaching beyond government and non-government organizations to leaders in the private sector and business community. Participants included representatives from NBC Universal, UPS, and Johnson & Johnson. Excuse me again. Oh, wait a minute. There you go. It's amazing. It's just amazing to me how you've got all these people that just knew this was coming, and all of a sudden it's here, and almost exactly like the exercise they had in October. Come on, is that a coincidence? I don't think so. I also want to touch on the internet censorship in internet censorship in China. I don't know how all these videos come out of China showing people walking down the street, because I mean they've got the strongest censorship of any country in the world when it comes to the internet, and it's monitored constantly by the government. I'm winding down here now. I just want you guys to take a chance and Google these guys. Google everything that's going on here. That's old Bill Gates here. You know, he's a good guy. And check this all out for yourself. Don't take my word for it. You got to look at the Children's Investment Fund Foundation, the German Marshall Fund, the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Research, the World Health Organization, ID 2020, the United Nations Development Program, the Global Fund, the CDC, the World Bank, the United Nations Foundation, the World Economic Forum, the Bill Gates Foundation, Events 201. These guys are all in this together. And then you get Deborah Birx coming on TV, like your mother, just so concerned for us. And she's telling anybody over 60 that you have to stay inside or you're probably going to die. And then she's also telling the millennials that you guys are the ones that can really help us here because you guys know how to do video games and that, and we don't know how to do that stuff. So we're looking to you because you're our future. That's the two biggest demographic groups in the country that she's controlling out of fear and ego. And we've got this 24/7 news thing going on constantly, just bombarding us with pandemic fears. And I personally believe this is an exercise. I'm not saying that the pandemic isn't real. It's real. You need to protect yourself. Where it started, I'm not sure. I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist here, but it just seems awful strange. And I just think myself personally that this is an exercise to see how much the world organizations can control the masses, can get them to do things because of fear. I think it's one step closer to a new world order. I think that we're all being played like guinea pigs in a science experiment. I think the people that we're seeing on TV and behind the scenes are pure evil. They could care less if we live or die. We're just part of a science experiment. And unfortunately, there are going to be a lot of people die from this. But these people in the background are laughing all the way to the bank. They're making money, they're controlling us, and I wish that somehow this could all be exposed. But with the media involved and all these major people, Bill Gates and the World Health Organization, with all of them being involved in this, nobody's going to say anything. And if they did, they're going to end up like Harvey Weinstein. But I just hope you guys all take care of yourselves, cough into your elbow, wear your gloves, don't go out unless you have to, because this is real. It's a real deal, but I think it was planned. And I think when it's all said and done, they'll have what they wanted. They'll have control of all of us, and they'll have a whole lot of people dead, and they'll probably have little microchips inserted into our body so they can follow each and every one of us. So anyways, Google this stuff. See if I'm saying, anything that's not right. Leave me a comment and let me know. I'm not trying to stir the pot. I'm just here trying to give you some information. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope to talk to you soon. Have a good day and stay safe.